Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Alex Goldfayn. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your help and support with selling boldly. This is a webinar where I will present the major concepts in the book and hopefully help you apply them. My goal is for you to end this webinar and at your desk where you sit, hopefully do something that we talk about here today. I hope that you might pick up the phone. I hope that you might make a communication to a customer or a prospect that will help you help them more. That's the goal. We're not selling. We're not pitching. We're not annoying. We're not bothering. We are helping more customers more. That is the work. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it very much. Here's how we're going to do this. I don't really do unmuting or I don't really watch for raised hands on these webinars. What I do watch is this question and answer box. On your GoToWebinar control panel, there is a questions panel. And that's where many of you wrote, yes, I can hear you, yes, I can see your screen. So if you have a question, please type it in there, and I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be stopping and looking at that questions control panel, and I will read your question as it's typed in, and I'll answer it as we go. So, as all of you know, this is what the book looked like when it launched. And thanks to you, the book has made the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. And there it is in position number 5. You guys did this. And I can't tell you how grateful and thankful and appreciative I am. So thank you so very much for making this so. And just yesterday, I got the new cover. This is what the book will look like with the bestseller designation there on top. And I wanted to also let you know that those of you who shared about the book, which was one of our pre-launch initiatives here, we are putting together your t-shirts and your books, and we are getting them out. I know some of them have been sent out, and so my guess is these should be arriving by the end of the week. So that's what that looks like. So thank you very, very much. Now, at this point, the reviews on Amazon make a real impact on people who are thinking about the book, people who are looking at the book. So if you have a moment, if you've read it, if you have a moment, no matter what your review is, please go onto Amazon and just write a sentence or two or whatever might move you, and I would appreciate it very much. Okay, we begin. Now, some of these stories might be familiar to you, but I think they have a place here, and I'm kind of going to follow the approach of the book. And so these stories are in the book, and I kind of want to relate them to you here. I was buying an iced coffee at an airport, and the woman behind the counter, who was probably 20 years old, asked me if I would like a bottle of water with my coffee. And I said, oh my God, she just asked me the did you know question, which, as you know, is a big part of my work, and it was in my last book, and it's in this book, and it's really what a lot of my clients have made an awful lot of money with. The did you know question has probably generated hundreds of millions of dollars for my clients over the years. And I asked this lady, do they teach you how to ask this question? And she said, yes, they do. It's a part of our training. And I said, how many people buy a bottle of water? And she said, almost everybody. And I said, how much did the water cost? When she said almost everybody, I asked her, how much is the water? The water was $5. The coffee was $3. The coffee was $3, the water was $5. So with the simple question, would you like a bottle of water with that? This coffee shop nearly triples its revenue from $3 to $8 with water. And so my question to you is, what is your bottle of water? What's yours? What can your customers buy from you that, as we sit here right now, they're buying from somebody else? Right now, today, your customers are buying from the competition that which they could be buying from you. They would like to buy it from you. You would like to sell it to them. But none of that is possible because they simply don't know. We don't tell them. We could help them more. And they would like that help. But it's not possible because we don't tell them. Now, I was buying insulation for a cold room in our home, and 3 insulation companies came out to give us a quote. I'd never bought insulation before, so I had a bunch of questions. The quotes came in. One of the 3 followed up. Guess who got the business? Yeah, the guy who followed up got the business. Guess who was the most expensive? That guy. The guy who followed up. He even said to me, Mr. Goldfayn, why don't you send me the other 3 or the other 2 quotes, and I'll take a look and I'll make sure I'm not missing anything. I did. I sent it to him. I knew it wasn't fair to the other people, but you know what? They weren't there. They weren't present. They weren't interested. He was. He got the business, and several more pieces of business after that. People love it when we follow up. People love it when they understand what else we can help them with because they love doing business with you. And finally, have you ever stood in a group of people like this with a drink, because I do a lot around drinks. I was talking to a prospect on the phone today, and I said, I don't play golf, but I drink. That's what I do. And so maybe we should get together for drinks because I can't offer you golf. He said he enjoyed that. So that's what we're going to do. You ever stood in a circle like this and somebody asks the group, does anybody have a good dentist or chiropractor or, I don't know, painter for the house, for the walls in the house? Does anybody have a good chiropractor that doesn't make you sign up for 89 sessions to fix your back 3 times a week? Does anybody have a good dentist that won't poke your gums and make them bleed when they clean your teeth? Does anybody have a good painter that doesn't leave a mess on the baseboards, right, when they're done sanding? What do the other 3 people do when somebody asks for a referral like that? They trip over themselves, don't they? They trip over themselves arguing for their person. They don't just give a referral. They fight for the referral. No, you got to use my guy. My guy's great because, and the other person takes out their phone. Hang on, I'll shoot you the contact. You don't want his, you want mine. Right? Because we used to give business cards, but now we shoot each other the contact, don't we? I'll shoot you the contact. So, people love giving referrals. Why do they love giving referrals? They want to be helpful, right? They have a good provider. You're a good provider. They like you. They trust you. They appreciate you. You help them in extraordinary ways. They want to help you. They would like to give you a referral. At the same time, remember, they're not only helping you, they're helping the person they're referring a great deal because they get to put them in contact with you, right? They get to give a friend or colleague access to your wonderful value. And finally, as a result of that, they, the referrer, looks pretty damn good, don't they? They look good because of it. They benefit from it. They gain favor from the person that they're connecting to you and also from you. Don't underestimate the value that the referrer gets by giving you a referral. You kind of owe them one now, don't you? When they give you a referral, you owe them one. And so if I give you a referral and then that person buys or doesn't buy, I just give you a referral. And then I come to you and I need something from you, right? I need a favor. And I say to you, listen, I need it tomorrow. And you say to me, I'm sorry, I'm busy for tomorrow. I will say to you, come on, I just gave you a referral, right? Help me out. And I'm going to be right. And you're going to help me. So that's how it works. So people would love to buy more from you, but we don't tell them what else they can buy. People love it when we follow up on quotes and proposals, but we don't follow up very much. We don't want to bother them, right? We don't want to annoy them. People love to give referrals, but we don't ask for them as much as we could or should. And my question to you is why? Why not? If we know people would like to buy more from us, and that's a fact, if we know that people love to give referrals, and if we know that people like it when we follow up with them because it shows them that we care, right? We're not bugging them, we're showing them that we're interested. Like that guy did with the insulation. Showed me that he cared more than the others. So if we know these things, Why don't we do them more? Why don't we ask for these things more? The reason, ladies and gentlemen, is fear. Fear is the reason we don't ask. Fear is the reason we don't follow up. Fear is the reason we don't tell our customers about what else they can buy from us. Hey, if they need it, they'll call. They'll let me know if they need it, right? It's not how it works, is it? They won't let you know. They're busy. But we don't tell them, did you know we can also help you with X or Y or Z? Or would you like a bottle of water with that? We don't tell them that because we are afraid of bothering them, of annoying them, of rejection. The fear of rejection, ladies and gentlemen, has cost you many, many, many millions of dollars, both personally, as a salesperson, and for your organization, for your company. That fear has cost you millions. It is the reason we don't pick up the phone. We know we should pick up the phone, but we don't because of our fear of rejection. For most salespeople, try to wrap your minds around this. For most salespeople, the fear of rejection is greater than, it's more profound than our need to feed our families. Try to think through the tragedy of that, because it's so big that it's hard to kind of wrap your mind around that. We're more afraid of rejection than our need to feed our family, right? We'd rather not ask for the business, for example. We'd rather not ask for the money and risk a rejection. I don't even want to risk a rejection, so I'm not going to ask. Then actually ask and risk the rejection, but also open up the opportunity of actually possibly getting a yes. Imagine that. That's how it works. That's how big the fear of rejection is. And so my book, Selling Boldly, is about how to deal with and eliminate this fear, right? So it lays out the fear. It presents the fear. It discusses what the cost of the fear is and what it does to us and what it keeps us from doing, right? Because the fear keeps us from doing really important things like 3 or 4 or 5 that we've already discussed, right? Fear prevents us from picking up the phone. It keeps us from asking for the business. It keeps us from asking for referrals. It keeps us from doing all of those things that we know we should do, that we know would be good for us and the customer. We know it would be good for us and the customer, and yet we do not do it because of this damn fear. So if you find yourself in life avoiding something that you know you should be doing, it is almost always because of fear. Almost always. This is not just work. This is not just sales. This is not just business. This is life. If you find yourself avoiding something, procrastinating on something, it is almost always because of fear. And so what you need to do to deal with it, I don't have slides on this, but I'll just take you through it. To deal with the fear, identify it specifically, right? So what is this fear that I'm feeling, right? What is the fear of? And almost always it's going to be rejection or failure, 90% of the time. And then ask yourself, what will happen exactly if this fear comes true? So if the fear actually happens, if I get rejected by this customer on this thing that I'm offering them, right, on this bottle of water, on this additional product, on this additional service, if I get rejected on this, what will happen to me then? Because that's my fear, right? That's what I'm afraid of. What will happen? Death? Will death happen? Will you die where you sit? Will they come and take the house tomorrow? Will the children not have milk to drink in the morning if this customer says no to this thing? The answer is, of course not. Those things are absurd. The interesting thing is that this fear happens so automatically, right? It happens in our subconscious because we've had it for so long. And it happens so quickly and so automatically that we don't even know it's happening. We don't even know. We have no awareness that this is happening. It just happens automatically in our heads. It controls us. It controls our behavior. It affects our lives. It damages our lives. It reduces how much we get to help our customers dramatically, and in turn, how much they get to pay us and benefit from that value, and in turn, how much money we bring home to our family. So it does all that terrible stuff, and we don't even know that it's happening. It just happens automatically. So identify the fear, almost always rejection or failure. Identify what will happen exactly if that thing happens, if the fear comes true. And you will find that the answer to what exactly will happen is almost always nothing. If this customer says no, nothing will happen. Next person up. Next man or woman up. That's it. That's all that happens. You have lots of prospects. Now, to further help you with the fear, folks, I remind you that questions are in the GoToMeeting question and answer box. I am looking there. There's nothing new, so I will not. There's nothing to read or address. But if you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to communicate with me, that is where. Even if it's not a question, you can type it into the question box, and that is where. Okay. Now, let me give you another more concrete way to deal with and eliminate fear. We want to talk to customers. That's what we want to do. We want to talk to customers. And so what I have here is an actual interview that I did with a customer of a client of mine, and I have permission to use this. And so this is a factoring company, and so I wanted to use a service company because I always use, I tend to use product companies because that makes up the majority of my clients. I'd say like 70% of my clients are product manufacturers or distributors. 30% of my clients are service companies. So let me show you this. This is an actual customer of an actual client of mine. And this client, what they do is when their clients send invoices, this company is called a factoring company. They basically pay the invoice before the customer does, and they buy that invoice. They pay a percentage, not 100%, but say 90% of the invoice, and they keep the rest. So they pay invoices like immediately, like now, when the invoice is sent, and then the actual person paying the invoice will pay this company, if that makes sense. So they prepay invoices. And so this is a customer who they do that for. And I'm just going to read some of these things too. They expedite us getting paid. My client's name is Sumar. With Sumar, we get to pay our suppliers and we get more product. Sumar helps us give oxygen to our suppliers. They are the best factoring company I've ever worked with. Very qualified people on staff. They don't make mistakes. They're very positive. It's a good relationship. Alvaro is the owner. Alvaro is a very trustworthy person. He keeps his words. I like that. His company is growing very successfully. Look at this. A small company like ours, we couldn't exist without Sumar. Look at that. We couldn't exist without Sumar. I can't get money at the bank, but Sumar helps make sure I get paid. Sumar brings me peace of mind. Sumar purchases my receivables, and I sleep well at night. It's easy to work with them. With money, I can do anything. Sumar helps me get my money. What do you think about that? Look at that. So a few points. Number one, what in the world can Sumar say about itself that's as good as this? That's as good as what a customer says. Number two, what is this customer talking about here? Take a look at the screen. What's the customer talking about? The customer is talking about not the actual work, is he? He's not talking about the stuff. He's not talking about the percentages. He's not talking about the process. He's not talking about the specs. What is he talking about? He's talking about the value, isn't he? About the relationship, about you. He's talking about the people that he's working with. And so what do you think happens when you and your colleagues regularly and systematically hear this kind of feedback? What do you think happens there? What happens to the mindset? What happens to the damn fear? This is what happens. When you hear that regularly, when you hear customer feedback like this regularly, positivity goes up, confidence goes up, optimism goes up, gratitude increases. The salesperson becomes happier. They become more perseverant. They become more bold. Let's just go through some of these. Who do you think sells more or better or helps their customers more? The positive salesperson or the negative one? The confident salesperson or the meek one? Who would you rather buy from? The optimistic salesperson or the pessimistic salesperson? Who do you think sells better, the happy salesperson or the unhappy ones? Who do you think generates better results? The salesperson who keeps trying and perseveres, which is the topic of yesterday's newsletter, or the salesperson who gives up easily? Hearing customer feedback regularly literally eliminates fear and inoculates you against it. It is a fear immunity shot. So hear me carefully. This is one of the most important things I'm going to say here today. Regularly hearing from your happy customers eliminates fear and inoculates you against it. It doesn't just eliminate it, it creates a firewall against it. It builds your immunity against it. It inoculates you against it. So that's how that works. That's how that works. And the key to selling more, folks, is to know how good you are and then to behave accordingly. So all of these words are key components of positive psychology. And so the subtitle of the book, as I'm looking at it here on my desk right now, is Applying the New Science of Positive Psychology to Dramatically Increase Your Confidence, Happiness, and Sales. That's the title, Positive Psychology. So we're applying it. We're applying its principles here to selling. And the best thing you can do to get there is to listen to the words of your happy customers, because those don't come in, right? Customers don't call us with that kind of feedback. We have to go get it, don't we? We have to go get that feedback. It doesn't just come in. And when we go out and get it, not once, but all the time, right? Systematically is the key here. There it is. Systematically is the key. All of these good things happen. So, in the first half of the book, I go through the 10 critical mindset shifts that need to happen in order to sell more. And so we have to work on our thinking before we can work on our behavior. And these are the 10 shifts. And the way that these work, folks, are in pairs, right? So these are in pairs, left to right. And each of these pairs, left to right, is a continuum, right? So the default position is on the right side. Most people who sell fearfully, as we've established already, are on the right side. They're here. So they are reactive instead of proactive. They are fearful instead of confident. They are meek instead of bold. They tend to be pessimistic instead of optimistic. The reason for that is customers only call us when something's wrong or they need something urgently. They tend to lack the perseverance, sometimes the significant, extreme perseverance required to sell successfully. They tend to focus on products and services, not value and relationship. They tend to overplan and under-execute, as opposed to take constant communication action without really overthinking it. Right? One of the things that fear leads to is procrastination. And what procrastination is a result of, and it's very closely related, is overthinking, overplanning. And so simply take action. They tend to work really, really hard and it's visible and people can see that and sense it, as opposed to making it look easy. You know the waiter at the restaurant that's laboring and running around and sweating, and then they show up at your table and they sigh onto your table and they say, okay, what can I get you? And I don't want that stress. I'm out with my family. Get your hard work out of here. They tend to be, in the default position, tends to be inquiry driven, meaning we react to what comes in, not plan driven, which is what the most successful salespeople do. Let's see here. We have a question from Carlos, which is, while it's logical recognizing that the negative outcomes of fear is more in our minds, what approaches help sales managers deal with the fear behaviors that their salespeople may still have? Well, we're talking about it here, right? Carlos, stay with me here, but we're talking about it here. We have to show your salespeople how good they are in the words of their customers. That's really the key. We have to show them how good and effective and valued they are among their customers, because they don't know how good they are. Because the conversations we have with customers is when something's wrong or there's a problem. So that's how that goes. So stay with me here, and we're gonna get to the more practical steps and actions. We're gonna do mindsets first for the next 10 minutes or so, and then we're gonna dive into the techniques and the actual practical behaviors as we go. So Carlos, thank you for the question. For all of you, please feel free to jump in with your questions and thoughts. But this set of mindset shifts, each one of these is a chapter in the book. So one chapter covers each of these. And what I would like to do now is there's 10 of them. I want to take you through the top 5, what I believe to be the top 5. And so I go to the book for this. The first one here is confidence over fear. So I think each of those things are opposites, and confidence is the opposite of fear. So we started with a real dive into fear itself, and so the opposite of fear is confidence. And so confident salespeople believe that the customer is lucky to be hearing from us, not the other way around. We are not lucky the customer picked up the phone. The customer is lucky that we called them, because we could be talking to a lot of people right now. The confident salesperson thinks it's highly likely that she will get the business. We believe we should get the business. Why the heck wouldn't we get the business? What could be wrong with this person enough that we wouldn't get the business? We know how valuable we are. We know how much we help this person. Confident salespeople believe that the customer deserves to benefit from our great value, and we owe it to them to offer them these additional products and services. We owe it to them. They deserve that from us. The confident salesperson knows that there are many additional ways that we can help people beyond how we are helping them now. The fearful salesperson says if they need it, they will call. See the difference? The confident salesperson is driven to provide as much value for the customer as possible. That's the job. That's the work. The fearful salesperson's goal is to avoid being yelled at by the customer. Anything not to be rejected. So where does this confidence come from? It comes from knowing how good you are and then behaving accordingly. It comes from listening to your happy customers. That's where it comes from. So to be confident instead of fearful is really damn near everything. It's the difference between day and night. Helando says, when you say make it look easy, do you mean the sale itself? I mean that when you interact with people, even when you are working hard, even when it's not easy, make it look easy. So I mean in the conversation, I mean on the phone call, I mean in the meeting, I mean in the sales process, right? When you're communicating with the customer or prospect, even when you're working hard, make sure nobody knows it. You know, I do speeches. Last year I did 50 talks, 50. I did 50 workshops and speeches. And there were some, and you know, every room has a different energy. And a speech, as I've told my wife as I come back from these things, a speech, being in front of a room, is an exchange of energy that you have with people, right? It's an exchange of energy. So I give energy, and hopefully the audience gives some back. But sometimes the audience is giving nothing back. Sometimes there is nothing coming back to me. And so I'm literally becoming drained as I stand there of life. And in those situations, which is, I don't know, maybe 10 to 15% of the talks, it is hard work. It is. but nobody would know it. I'm the only one who knows, and people want to be surrounded by people who make it look easy. People want to be surrounded by people who give them hope, who make them feel like it's possible. And when you're working hard visibly, then you're doing the opposite of that. So I hope I answered your question. Ellen asks, explain a bit more about the difference between plan-driven and over-planning. Sure. So I'm going to show you some planners here today that I want you to do quickly. And so a over-planning person is somebody who gets ready to get ready. An over-planning person is somebody who will sit in a meeting and talk and talk and talk, and then have another meeting about it and talk, and then another meeting about it and talk. And there's a lot more planning than actually doing. And the key to selling more is to do. Nothing happens without action. In fact, folks, the rule of thumb is about 36 hours. You're on this webinar now. We're spending an hour together. I see that there's about, 65% of you that are attentive and 35% of you that aren't. And I think what that means is that my webinar window is not your top window right now. Oh, now that number just jumped up. So it tells me that. GoToWebinar tells me that. And now the number continues to go up still. That's right. I can see that. I know what you're doing. So here they all come back. But I don't know who it is. So it doesn't tell me by name. So the rule of thumb is 36 hours. If you do a workshop or you read something and you don't take action in 36 hours, which is a day and a half, it's gone. It's gone forever. It's like you were never here at all, right? It's like nothing happened. It's like I wasn't here and you weren't here. Nothing happened. So take action. We have to do, Alan. And so that's the difference between over-planning versus actually doing. So that's confidence and fear. Let's talk about boldness and meekness, which are also opposite pairs. We want to be bold, not meek, but when we are fearful, we are meek. We're not bold. And by the way, boldness is the behavioral version of confidence, which is the psychological version, right? So confidence is how we think, boldness is how we behave. Fear is how we think, which presents itself as meekness in our behavior, whereas confidence presents itself as boldness behaviorally. Okay, so back to the book we go. We behave boldly if we are confident, but we behave meekly if we are fearful. So here is what bold people do. When we are bold, we take more action. Alan, we underplan and we over-execute because we know how good we are. When we are bold, we pick up the phone. When we are meek, we email. When we are meek, we research. When we are bold, we talk to customers and prospects. When we are bold, we ask for the business because we're assuming, once again, that they want to work with us. When we are bold, we try to help our customers more all the time. When we are meek, we basically are avoiding being yelled at. So we can't see that those are extreme opposites. We can't behave as though we're avoiding being yelled at and still try to help customers more. You can't do it. It's physically impossible. When we are bold, we ask for more referrals. When we are meek, we feel like we don't know if we're good enough, right? Well, they haven't sent me any yet, so I don't know. I don't know if I should. Here's a good one. When we are bold, we use silence in our conversation to let the other person think and answer. We are comfortable with silence. Who do you know like yourself that would benefit from working with me? And we wait until the answer comes. That's what boldness is. Meekness, we are uncomfortable with that silence. We're uneasy with it. We fill it with nervous chatter. So that's the mindset shift there. Let me give you number 3, optimism versus pessimism. Again, who would you rather buy from? The optimistic salesperson or the pessimistic one? I think it was Henry Ford who said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So how good is that? Wake up in the morning, you think it's going to be a crappy day, you will be exactly right. Or you wake up in the morning, you get out of bed, you say, I'm going to have a great day today, you have a chance at making it so. Think it's going to be a terrible day, and you will be correct. So whether we think we can or we think we can't, we are right. So let's be optimistic. Optimism makes money. Martin Seligman, who's widely acknowledged as the father of positive psychology, which a lot of these concepts are based on, has a book out. It's kind of his definitive book, which is called Learned Optimism. And he says that you can learn to be this way, right? That's the whole premise of the book. You can teach yourself to be optimistic. You can make yourself this way. And so why is optimism important? Well, you can pick up the phone and believe you're going to get the business, or you can pick up the phone and believe you won't. Optimistic salespeople tend to have an internal locus of control, which means whether or not I get the sale is up to me, right? My success is within my control, and that's a really empowering thing. As opposed to pessimistic people who have an external locus of control, stuff happens to them, right? They don't control it. You always hear athletes saying, I only focus on what I can control. I can only worry about what I can control, because they're taught that at an early age, professional athletes, that if you worry about whether you're going to be called up from AAA to the major leagues, or whether you're going to be a starter or a reserve player, which is totally out of your control, you'll go crazy and your performance will suffer. But if you focus on what you can control, which is swing mechanics, right? Hit the ball correctly, you're going to do well, because you can hit the heck out of the ball and it flies right at a defender, right? But if you hit it well, correctly, enough times, it will find the holes. You will get your hits. So your language, your tone becomes more positive when you're optimistic. And finally, to build on something I said earlier, people are drawn to optimism and positivity, just as they are repelled by pessimism and negativity, right? We want to be around optimism and positivity. So, number 4, let's see here, number 4, correct? Yeah, number 4 is gratitude. Gratitude, not cynicism. There's a great book out by Sean Achor, A-C-H-O-R. It's called The Happiness Advantage. And he's found study after study that shows that gratitude is a key to success. Grateful people are more effective and more successful than ones who are ungrateful. And in the sales world, I feel like the opposite of gratitude here is cynicism. Cynicism is the opposite of gratitude. So again, we can choose to be grateful. What should we be grateful for? Our customers, our prospects. We should be grateful for the people who have rejected us, because we can try to help them again. The vast majority of my clients have rejected me before they became my clients. We should be grateful for our colleagues and our company and our supportive family and the meeting we have coming up. You know, your phone rings all day, right? And we talk about that as kind of having to do reactive work and having to do customer service all the time, and how people are calling in with issues and needs. But how lucky are we? How lucky are we that people call us all day and need our help? And we get to help them, and then we get to tell them how else we can help them. How lucky are we? How cool is that? Folks, in the book and in this webinar, there are, I think, 6 different planners, 6 different planning worksheets that you can use and print and write on that are central, back to Alan's question, to planning quickly and then also doing quickly, executing. On your GoToMeeting control panel, there is, under the handouts category, a file called sellingboldlytools.pdf. If you click on that, you're going to download it. It's going to come to you, and you will have the 6 planners that are discussed in the book if you haven't gotten them already. Now, there is a link on my homepage that you can go to and download this. So some of you may already have it, but if you want it right now quickly, here is the download right on the GoToWebinar control panel. It's a sellingboldlytools.pdf, and it has this planner, which is on my screen right now, and also 5 or 6 others. So every week, you might want to sit down and think through these things, which affect the mindset. 3 recent sales wins that you're proud of. 3 specific things you're grateful for. 3 things your customers value and appreciate about working with you. Here's a good one on perseverance. 3 people who deserve for me to take action this week, even when it's difficult. And then 3, your top 3 perseverance priorities. Meaning, where do you need to try again? Where do you need to make more effort to try again? If we think consciously and actively about these things, they will help you shift to the mindset that's critical for sales success. And finally, I want to talk to you about perseverance and not surrender, which will leave us about 15 minutes for the actions, which is about what I wanted. Anything that's really even mildly valuable or interesting demands perseverance. Every one of you right now can think about a sale that you had that you wouldn't have had if you didn't try and try and try and try again. Thomas Edison says that many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Yesterday's newsletter was all about this perseverance. We owe it to our customers to try again. If somebody tells you no, it does not mean no forever. It only means not at this moment. So we must give them another moment. We must give them another moment. I don't know how many of you have heard the story about my children's trees, but I'm going to tell it quickly because it's a perseverance story. At our old house, the story's in the book. At our old house, we planted 2 trees when my children were born. I have 8-year-old twins, and the 2 trees are right there. There's one on the left and one on the right, and there were 2 maple trees. And so that's about 6 years ago there. That's what those trees, we planted them actually about 7 years ago now. And we were moving, and I wanted to take the trees with me. And people were like, maybe you should just buy a couple new trees. And I said, no, I want those trees. Those are the kids' trees. This one here, nearest to us, is Noah's tree. And this one here, which is a purple maple, this one's Bella's tree. And so I wanted to take the tree. So I started calling companies. I thought, by the way, that a few guys with shovels can come and dig up my trees. But that's not how it works. You actually need a truck that looks like this to get the trees. A truck that looks like this to get the trees. It's called a hydraulic tree spade. And these blades, you can kind of see like the 4 blades right there. They shoot into the ground with water, with high intensity water, to get the entire root ball, and then it's loaded onto the tree. So I started calling companies in Illinois, and every single one of them told me no. And we had sold the house. So what we did is we moved out of the house into our new house, put that house, the old house, on the market, and then found a buyer, sold it. And so meanwhile, I'm trying to move these trees. And so time's running short, and people don't want to help me. They don't want to move the tree. They don't do backyard trees. They do golf courses and parks and parking lots and shopping malls, right? They don't do little trees in the backyard. And so I called 12 different companies, and they all said no. And I'm running out of time, so I start calling companies in Wisconsin. And they start rejecting me too. And at this point, my wife is saying, why don't we just buy a couple new trees? And my parents are saying, maybe give it up and buy a couple new trees. In fact, I even had some of these people whose job it is to move the trees say to me, maybe you should just buy a couple. You know, I could have bought a whole damn forest for the money that they were charging me to move these 2 trees. But I kept going. I started calling Wisconsin companies because I've already been rejected 12 times. So what's a 13th and a 14th and a 15th? It's the same. It doesn't matter. If the customer has told you no 7 times, an 8th rejection is no worse. It doesn't matter. It's the same. So I found a guy. I found a guy in Wisconsin who drove all the way down and pulled out our trees. There's the machine. You see they put wood down under the wheels there. And there's the machine going in and getting the tree out. And here's the first tree going into the front yard of our new house, right by the sidewalk there, as you can see. And there's the other tree going in. You see first it digs the hole and then it puts the tree in. And there's the two trees. This is about 3 years ago now. There's the two trees closest to the sidewalk. As I look out my window in my office right now, I can see them. I'm looking at them now. And they're right by the sidewalk, right by the street where everybody passing by can see them. And as we're watching this, my wife says to me, I don't know anybody else. We're standing across the street watching this, taking this picture. My wife says, I don't know anybody else who would have persevered enough to get these trees here. And folks, sometimes sales takes that same kind of perseverance. Sometimes in sales, we have to try like this. That's what sales demands sometimes. So let's talk about the actions. The more that people hear from you, the more they buy from you. So every one of these actions is a communication action. Number one, use the phone more. Make more calls. Don't email. Make more calls. The average salesperson spends 4 hours a week on the phone. You heard me right, 4. Now you work for 40, so what's happening the other 36? Because the job is to talk to human beings, right? The work is to talk to humans. What are you doing the other 36? Well, I'm emailing, right? I've sent the email. I've succeeded. I'm researching. I'm driving in the car. So I have created a planner here. The way to increase phone time, the way to use the phone more, is not to ask people to give you more hours on the phone. It's to ask people for more efforts, more phone calls. And so here is a planner. See if I can zoom in on this here for us so we can see it better. The planner has 2 columns, 2 rows, and together 8 different kinds of people that you can call. And in the top row of people, there are 4 kinds of customers. And on the bottom row, there are 4 kinds of prospects. And what I want you to do with this is at the beginning of every week, fill it out. And you don't need to fill every row in every box, but you need to write down names of humans here. Top customers who can buy more from me. Customers I haven't talked to in 6 months or more. Fantastic group of people to call. Customers who used to buy but stopped. Write down their name. This is important because these people aren't calling. They're not the ones we hear from, right? And because we don't hear from them, we don't talk to them. We don't interact with them. We don't know what they're doing. So this makes you think of people you're not hearing from regularly. That's why it's valuable. Good customers who just received an order that I can follow up on. Or customers we finished our work for if you're in services. Prospects I once talked to, but they didn't buy. Prospects I know are buying elsewhere now. People I know who are working with my competition, but they'd be better off working with me. Prospects I've never talked to, but want to make contact with. I know there's overlap here. I don't care. I want you to think, I'm giving you different ways to think of humans who can pay you more, or pay you, period. Use this, write it down. Again, I remind you that the download is in the handouts portion of this GoToWebinar control panel. You can also get it on my website. So again, call somebody you haven't talked to in 6 months or more. Call a prospect. We almost never talk to prospects. We only talk to customers. They're the ones calling. Don't forget about the prospects. This is a good one. Call a customer who used to buy but stopped. Right now, try thinking of 5 people who used to buy from you but stopped. You can't do it because we're not talking to them every day. You can't give me 5 people right now, and if you can, you'd be a great exception. They're not in our heads. Only the squeaky wheels are in our heads. Only the people that call us are in our heads. Well, they're only 10% of all the people. The other 90% you're not talking to. Use this tool to write them down and speak to them intentionally. Intentionally. Number 2, ask the did you know question. We started about this, would you like a bottle of water with that? In the book and in the tool download, there is a did you know planner. Here's how to use it. I'm going to give you a quick overview. Make a complete list of your did you know questions. So for me, did you know I do speeches and workshops? Did you know I do 6-month to year-long consulting projects? Did you know I have writers on staff, or actually not on staff because I don't have a staff, but these are writers who I work with, my contractors, who can write your newsletter every other week and then your did you know email every other week. So you make your complete list here and unbundle them. Don't bundle them together, unbundle. And then in the middle, you have 4 categories. This is good. Think about this sheet as like the head coach's play sheet in football. You know, the coach stands on the sidelines with a laminated sheet of paper with colors on them. I want you to make your playbook here, your play sheet. So in the middle, you bring things over from the right. So if the customer buys, on the top of my head, pipes, I'm going to offer them these valves and gaskets. But if the customer buys valves, I'm going to offer them these pipes and these other things. And if the customer buys this other top category, I'm going to offer them these did you knows. So you make your play sheet here and you make your if-thens. And you put this in front of you. And you say to somebody, by the way, did you know that we can also help you with this or that? You don't have to pick up the phone for this. You slide them into existing conversations. And then once again, moving to the right, you make your top 7 did you knows here. And that's how that works. You just bring them over, your top 7, and you write them in. Okay? That's the did you know. Plan, but also do. Alan, we keep coming back to your question. Plan, but also do. Steve says he's heard in terms of perseverance that it can take as many as 13 repetitive contacts to finally connect with somebody to have a conversation. How do you differentiate the messaging so that you aren't leaving the same voicemail every time? Well, it shouldn't be all voicemails, first of all, Steve. It should be different things. It should be a voicemail. It should be an email. It should be a text message. It should be a handwritten note. It should be send them something good. Send them some value. Send them a book. Send them selling boldly. Send them different things. Don't just leave voice messages because that does get boring. Change it up. And make sure it's about me, Steve. Don't make it about you. Ask yourself, is this about me and my services, or is this about the customer? And if it's about you, change it. Make it about the customer. And if it's about the customer, do it. Send it, leave the message, do the work. Number 3, the reverse did you know question. So in the did you know, we are volunteering products to the customer. In the reverse did you know, the customer volunteers it back to us. We ask them what else they need. What else are you buying elsewhere that I may be able to help you with? Or what else do you need? Or what else is on your wish list? I had a client ask what else is on your wish list. The customer gave them 26 things. 26 different products that they're not buying from my client now. I said, how many have you started selling? He said 12. 14 to go. That's how this works. You will never ask somebody for their opinion, and they will tell you, I'd rather not share it with you. Everybody loves being asked what they think. Number 4, obtain referrals. This is a referral planner. It's also in the download, and it's in the book. On the left side, I want you to make a list of who to ask for internal referrals from. Who else at your business buys my kind of value? Who else do you work with? Maybe somebody at a different office, somebody at a different division, somebody in a different department, maybe at your department. Who sits next to you that I can help like I help you? Internal referrals within the same company. On the right side, I want you to make a list of people you can ask for referrals of outside their business. Customers, suppliers. Maybe they used to work somewhere. Maybe they've left where you used to sell to them and now they've gone somewhere new and they could refer you back to that place. And then you keep track of the referrals that you got down here in the second half of this planner. Who is the referral from? Who is the referral? How are you going to communicate with them? You need to establish that. And when will this happen? And finally, the after action call. The after action call is, listen, did you get it? Did everything go okay? Are you happy? Is everything good? Great. Now that I know you're happy, who else do you know like yourself who would benefit from this kind of work? Or did you know we can also help you with X or Y or Z? Or what else do you need? So you pivot into one of our actions. But the first step is just a follow-up. It's just I want to make sure you got it. So to put it all together is this one-page Selling Boldly planner. And it's where you put all of the different people. In all of these lines, we put people. We put human names here. And every one of these categories is a chapter in the book. And you sit down for 10 minutes and you write out the names of the people you're going to communicate with on these different things. Who will you call proactively? Who will you ask, did you know? Who will you follow up on quotes and proposals? Who will you ask for referrals? Who will you send handwritten notes to? Who will you do post-delivery calls with? Okay? You lay it out. And then you use, this is the other side of the page, you use Monday through Friday, and you schedule them here, and then you track how everything's going. All of this planning, you're looking at maybe 15 minutes a week. Maybe. I just want you to spend a few minutes a day on this. That's it. Because far more important than the plan, ladies and gentlemen, is the doing. Be confident, be bold, be optimistic, be grateful, and know how good you are, and help people like crazy. Help your existing customers more and go find more like them who you can also help. Thank you so much for helping me with this book, and I hope it helps you back in spades. I hope it helps you exponentially more than you helped me, and you helped me tremendously. So as soon as this webinar ends, you are going to get a 2-question feedback form. It's not even a form because it's only 2 questions. And one's going to ask you about how you liked the webinar and what you thought, and the other one's going to ask you about if you're interested in discussing a speech or a workshop or a possible project with your company and these things, because that's what I do. I do this work. This isn't theory. This is stuff that we know works. And so the question is, what will you do? Finally, if you remember, and I will do my best to help you remember, please leave a review on Amazon about the book. That would help your peers and colleagues kind of understand what it's about and what it does. I'd be grateful for that. So thank you very, very much for being here. We are right at the top of the hour. I always hit my marks, and I'm looking forward to talking with you soon and hopefully to seeing some of you soon as well. Thank you very, very much. All the best.